Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Haribol. So the topic I was handed was being a force for good. Of course, the opposite to good is evil or harm, to do harm. I think in the Hippocratic Oath, one of the instructions or commands to doctors is first, do no harm. And of course that implies in your attempt to try and help someone and do some good, there is a distinct possibility that you can do harm. And the same principle actually applies if we were to seek to do good in this world. Just as an example, if you had a neighbor and they had a child who was a diabetic and he saw you eating sweets and he's bugging you for sweets and you say no and then he starts crying. Then you feel, oh, poor little guy, you know, okay, let me give him some sweets. In your being compassionate, you can be inflicting harm upon someone. So in a similar manner, when we don't have real clarity of what actual good is, then it's all too easy. I mean, we see in the world political conflicts and religious conflicts. They're all based on the idea of supposedly doing good. I'm going to do so much good that if you try to stop me, I'm going to, you know, give you some serious trouble because we're out to do good. So having a really clear idea about what good is really important, particularly if we would like to live our life in a way that we can have a good effect on others and on our environment. About 500 plus years ago, there was a great spiritual personality. His name was Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he is actually the father of the modern kirtan movement. Kirtan, this chanting of these sacred sounds of mantras, spiritual sounds, has become such a everybody knows about it, or a lot of people know about it. It's no longer a weird thing or a really foreign thing. And it was because of his influence. He was the one that really inaugurated this modern, and when I say modern, I'm referencing the last 500 years. This is modern times from a Vedic perspective. He inaugurated this movement, and it was when asked about, you know, what's the sum total of what you're teaching? And I'm just going to paraphrase because it was a little bit longer than this. But it was paraphrased by him as doing good to yourself and doing good to others. That one should first do good to themselves. And this is not like what people speak of currently, where the idea of doing good is I get to buy myself a treat or I pamper myself. That's not what we're talking about. That's a rather, how harsh do I want to get? That's rather a perverse idea. And it's being capitalized on, of course, by anybody who's selling anything, because it just sounds like such a great idea, and it's all based on the principle of self-importance, of me being so significant and important, but then not even really knowing who I am. I'll have all these false ideas about who I am, like, for instance, the body that I'm wearing around, that's me. And so I do good to myself by stimulating, tickling the senses and my body and doing all those kind of things to it. Somehow that's going to do me some good. Reality is it doesn't do you any good. A person can be extremely overly stimulated and be incredibly unhappy to the point of even being suicidal. And that's because actual happiness is not connected with sensual pleasure. Sensual pleasure is there, it's an experience, and it can be a bit of a rush and everything, but it doesn't actually allow one to experience happiness. There's no connection between that and actual happiness. Happiness is truly a spiritual condition. So if I am to seek to do good for myself, it's actually going to require a little bit of work. There must be some sort of recognition of how much I have become influenced by society, by societal values, which are changing. They seem to change with the wind these days. There were values that were pretty consistent over hundreds and even thousands of years, and then in modern times all of a sudden we've become terribly enlightened and we're just inventing all kinds of ideas and experimenting without any real thought or knowledge about what the outcomes are going to be. And just as an example, I was just glancing at something earlier in the day, and it had to do, you know, this idea of delayed gratification. You know, they talk about it, particularly in child psychology, how incredibly important it is to teach children to have restraint. That just because you want something or you want to do something, it's not that that needs to be done immediately. There has to be some sort of bigger framework, some sort of bigger picture. So I was reading a very authoritative piece, and it said, a growing body of literature has linked the ability to delay gratification to a host of other positive outcomes, including academic success, physical health, psychological health, and social competence. All those things are intimately connected with a person's ability to put their so-called needs, which are actually just wants, on hold and attend to other things. And when people go the other way, when they become totally focused on instant gratification of things, then these things become undermined. Your academic success, your financial success, your social competence, and all these things become actually undermined. And that's just like completely against, it's completely contrary to how we're actually living. And this is an example of how, you know, we adopt ideas as societies, and we actually begin to think it's in our best interest, it's in our good to adopt certain types of behavior. And where are we getting these ideas from? Well, they're coming from everybody who sells something. We have no idea, we have absolutely no idea how deeply we are conditioned by the ideas that are fed to us. You know, it's been quite some years now that the messages of just do it. Of course, that sounds fantastic if you're about to do something heroic and, you know, a sporting event or something, and it's just like, just go for it, you know, the goal. But actually, it's a subliminal message. And the subliminal message is don't hold back, don't control yourself, just act on impulse. And it's in your interest to do it. You will become happy, you will become fulfilled. That's the message. That is the messaging of all advertising. Advertisers fundamentally want you to be servile and not very intelligent and docile. And when they feed messages, you just go, oh yeah, okay. When somebody tells you this is cool and you need this, okay, if you buy it, you will be cool and you will be happy. Okay, and I do it. And it's just like crazy land, because the entire human society is being profoundly influenced by these ideas that are philosophical ideas, and they undermine our ability to act in our best interest and to be a force for good. To be a force for good, it must be based on some spiritual foundation. It can't be based on the temporary, ephemeral nature of this world and the experiences of this world. Everything is just flowing by at a rapid rate. This is your life, just flowing by. It's going, gone. The experiences related to this world, the experiences related to me as an embodied being and the body, we should understand that we are not going to find our complete happiness and fulfillment in it. So, to actually become a harbinger for good and to be able to have a good effect and influence on the world, it really necessitates that a person either adopt, even unknowingly, true spiritual values, or better, consciously begin to cultivate and understand. I was listening to a debate, a really serious behavioral scientist and psychologist, and he was speaking about social media. And he was talking about one of the worst things for the good of everyone is the ability to create anonymous online identities. When you have an identity when nobody actually knows who you are, some cute name, you now have permission to do two things that are actually really destructive. One of these things is you are allowed to go places that you wouldn't want people to know you went there. Maybe family or friends or a husband or wife, a partner, children or whatever, if they knew you went there, they would be kind of like, whoa, you know, shocked. So anonymity allows you to get creepy. That's one thing. The second thing is it allows you to avoid social responsibility. You can now begin to behave in a way that you actually wouldn't to someone's face. You can make comments to them. You can say and do things that just now, you know, so what it does is it desocializes you. It dehumanizes you, because on a human face-to-face encounter, you wouldn't behave this way. You wouldn't say that. You wouldn't participate in this. You wouldn't do that if others were watching. And the anonymity allows you to do that. And so what it's really doing is really desocializing and dehumanizing people just through something as simple as having an anonymous online identity. And we don't think of things in that way because we're so convinced about the idea of instant gratification is so important. The fact that I can sneak around without being observed, and I can do stuff, and I can cause harm, and I can inflict injury, I can inflict pain on others with my words or whatever. You know, I'm unaccountable. Well, you're not unaccountable. You're not being held accountable by that person and their friends, but you are accountable because the laws of karma are such that for every action that you engage in, you must accept a reaction. There are consequences to every choice in life. In every action that you take, there are consequences. So if we want to seek to become a force of good, it's actually really necessary for us to really reconnect in a very conscious and clear way with our true spiritual self, our spiritual being. The Sanskrit word for the living being, the spiritual being, is Atma. Atma literally means the self. The body is not the self, the mind is not the self. These are things that cover the true self. And we live in this world where we take the mind and the body to be everything. We are utterly disconnected from our true spiritual self. And in that state, we can engage in activity, we can try to fulfill desires, we can project needs and things, and live in a way that produces no happiness. And that's borne out by the fact that there has never, ever been a time in history where we have the sheer volume of mental illness, depression, anxieties that we have today. It's unparalleled in history. We are consuming vast oceans of psychotropic substances just to try and make it so that we can get through. And we don't even connect it. We don't even think, well, maybe I'm living the wrong way. Maybe my values are actually not really valuable. Maybe I'm acting incorrectly. Maybe that needs to change so that I begin to see myself differently, I begin to see others differently, so that I can actually truly become a force for good. But it is built upon the absolute need for my own enlightenment, my own growth in my understanding and appreciation of who I actually am, my deeper inner spiritual self, my spiritual being, which is utterly covered. Utterly covered. So the quest for enlightenment, the quest for true spiritual understanding really begins with myself. And as I progress, then automatically I will feel great empathy, not just for other human beings, but for all living beings. I will feel a connection with them. I will actually be able to look at my actions and my choices and consider, well, am I causing harm to this world, to the living beings that live here? Am I causing harm to myself? And if the answer is yes, then I need to change. I need to change that. we often see that when people get all excited on social causes, they become like crusaders, and I say that word in the worst possible connotation. You know, going out wreaking mayhem and violence on others to try and create a better world. I mean, what? Those things don't really go together. So if we actually move towards true spiritual understanding, there is no possibility of fanaticism, of trying to force oneself and one's opinion on others. It doesn't even matter what anybody else thinks. If that person is in need of help, it is my responsibility and duty to try and be of help. Your eternal spiritual nature is both to love, and in that love to actually render affectionate service to those whom you love. That is a natural expression of love. You can't say that taking is an expression of love. Oh, I love you. Get your ass over here. That's just, you know, that kind of attitude is like the opposite of really what love is. Love, if we actually care about someone, then we will seek to give of ourself. We will seek to give and to share, to demonstrate kindness. These virtues, you know, the virtues of humility, of compassion, of restraint, of living a life of temperance, of a life of service. These are not old-fashioned ideas, although they've somewhat become old-fashioned. We've become really disconnected from these things. While many religions have adopted and promoted these as codes of conduct that are in our interest, that is actually based on a spiritual truth that is eternal. So even if we don't want to undertake the quest, the journey within to really find our true self, but if we would like to become a better person, then these qualities that I just spoke of, they are indispensable. If you want to do good to yourself, if you want to do good to others, then by adopting these and trying to live these values means you will truly become a force for good. But the more that you clearly understand what it is that you're doing, and you understand why you're making these choices and why you're going about these things, the more you're able to do that, the greater good you will be to yourself and to the world. Okay? Anybody disagree? I'm in a fighting mood. No. This is like, you know what? This is not just sentimentalism. It's not wishy-washy stuff, you know, peace and love, you know, getting stoned and... No, this is actually a really profound philosophical viewpoint, and it comes from actual spiritual enlightenment. This is how an enlightened person lives and acts. So I strongly encourage you to consider this and to seek to engage in some regular activity that brings about this kind of transformation. And the foundational activity that will bring about spiritual enlightenment is the meditation upon these spiritual sounds. when we do this, and what meditation is about, meditation is not like blanking thoughts out from your mind or just, holding it in one place. These are pre-meditational activities. There's pratyahara and dharana. Real meditation is when a person takes their body and their mind and themselves and they immerse themselves in the waters of transcendence and the spiritual sound. And when we do that, the covering of ignorance, the things that cause us pain and suffering within our heart and mind, gradually become removed, and our true spiritual nature manifests. And so when we engage in this process and kirtan, this group meditation where we sing these transcendental sounds, is uniquely powerful in this day and age. And in doing it, you don't have to do anything particular or not do anything particular. Just think of it in terms of opening your ears, allowing the sound to penetrate to the deepest recesses of one's heart, to become immersed in this spiritual sound. And it will actually transform us from the inside out. Okay? So we're going to chant. We'll chant the mantra Om Hari Om, which is actually really appropriate for what we're just talking about, because this transcendental name or sound, Hari, means the remover of pain, the remover of suffering, the remover of oppressive conditions of the heart. And so when we chant this mantra, we are seeking to become actually enlightened and have the burden of our heart removed. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Charidas.
You're very welcome.
So just make yourself comfortable.